Then I took a smidge and applied it down there.
This one's wife. Nigerian First Lady did not criticize this one's wife. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Well, the Nigerian faux royal tour was over a little while ago, but the ramifications of it continue. This one's wife is presumably back in Monty's shit show, wandering around the 27,000 flushing toileted bathrooms. Harry may well be skulking in the chicken coop. And this one's wife is presumably ignoring calls from her various advisors telling her, do something with American Riviera Orchard, whilst we all know that patient is dead and needs to be thrown in a shallow grave. Instead, this one's wife is probably scrolling through social media and poring over mainstream media to see what's being said about her. We know that she does this, and there's further evidence that she engages in this behaviour as a consequence of what I'm about to tell you. A few days ago, Nigeria's First Lady made a speech, and this resulted in some considerable heat coming this one's wife's way. A simple review of the various newspapers and broadcasting outlets tells us The Independent, Nigeria's First Lady slams US celebs after this one's wife's visit. A video on YouTube, Nigeria's First Lady, Tinubu, slams this one's wife's naked stunt. Black Enterprise reports, Nigeria First Lady calls out nakedness in fashion after this one's wife's recent visit, where she was criticised for revealing clothing. NDTV, we don't accept nakedness. Nigeria's First Lady slams celebs after this one's wife's visit. Yahoo News, Nigeria's First Lady slams US celebs after this one's wife's choice of clothing. Ynet News, Nigerian First Lady blasts this one's wife over nudity. She criticised this one's wife's revealing outfits during her visit to Nigeria. Citizen Digital, Nigerian First Lady criticises this one's wife over nakedness. India Today, Nigeria First Lady don't accept nakedness message after this one's wife's visit. And so it goes on. Headline after headline after headline reporting about it. Well, the Nigerian First Lady taking a swipe, slamming, criticising. GB News, Live Mint, Marca, Board Panda, New York Post, news.com.au, etc., etc. All of the various publications running with this news suggesting that this one's wife had been slammed and criticised by the Nigerian First Lady as a consequence of showing too much skin when she attended the tour in Nigeria. Naturally, this is problematic for a narcissist. It's problematic on two levels for this one's wife, linked to the need for control. First of all, she thinks she's gorgeous. She thinks she's beautiful, stunning, heart attack beautiful. And therefore, to criticise her clothing offends the very notion of what she believes herself to be, that beautiful woman who is a fashion icon. Accordingly, suggesting that her outfits were inappropriate, that she was engaging in wearing indecent clothing, that she was showing too much nakedness, is viewed through her lens of narcissism as a direct attack on her very being, and thus threatens her need for control. Secondly, the amplification of this criticism through the world's media makes the matter all the more problematic for her. It's not just one person who has criticised her, but in effect millions upon millions of people who are all reading the articles, watching the videos that have been created, including that of your glorious narrator, explaining why she's been criticised, and, of course, from my channel, how that impacts upon her as a narcissist. Thus, the non-intimate tertiary source that is the Nigerian First Lady, after all, She and this one's wife are not friends, they're not colleagues. Her criticism issued is a threat to control, but it becomes all the more problematic because it's picked up by social media and mainstream media, broadcast around the world, and has millions of people watching, reading and commenting about it. Thus, it's like millions of pinpricks for this one's wife. Stab, 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 all threatening her need for control. Thus, she needs to do something about it. Her reaction would have been one of horror. Who on earth has been criticising me? Well, everybody that has commented about your clothing and forming the opinion that you were inappropriately addressed, but all piggybacked on the back of what the Nigerian First Lady has said. Now, this one's wife isn't going to pick up the phone and call the Nigerian First Lady and say, "What's up?" and then ask, "What have you been saying about me?" That's naughty. Stop it. You need to do something else. Instead, this one's wife will have been informed and noticed, because of the scrolling that she does and the analysis that she undertakes, of perusing the headlines about herself, will have seen multiple headlines, all criticising her based upon what was said by the Nigerian First Lady. And this will, of course, this one's wife to issue an instruction to the relevant people in her team who has taken the words of the Nigerian First Lady, who has been misconstruing them. And at the same time, I want you to get in touch with the Nigerian First Lady and find out what's really going on here. Can we bring about some kind of correction? Because, of course, that would amount to a nullification of threat to control. Accordingly, her advisors have suggested to her that the matter can be dealt with by way of securing not an apology, but a clarification from the Nigerian First Lady, and then we need a scapegoat. Then we need to find somebody who twisted her words for the purposes of disseminating them worldwide. After all, we don't want to be seen to be criticising the Nigerian First Lady. That damages the facade. But we do want to be able to criticise some haters that are out there. Thus, what we need to do is get the Nigerian First Lady on side to clarify matters, to issue that clarification, and then we will target somebody for the purpose of blaming them. All of that subconsciously enables this one's wife to gain control, nullifying the threats to control. You'll be familiar with the fact that this one's wife often releases PR publications shortly after she's been criticised for something, often not directly addressing the matter that has been criticised, sometimes just trying to divert attention elsewhere. In other instances, it is about the matter that she's been criticised for. So, for instance, we suddenly get her an announcement about her undertaking, say, some charitable works when she's been criticised with regard to her supposed philanthropy. This, as people call it, is clapping back, whereby she receives a criticism and she responds in order to try and distract from the criticism or detract from the criticism, or basically point out the criticism is wrong. All of that, of course, is the narcissist way of responding to a threat to control. We regularly see her do this, and she's done it again in relation to the slamming and the dragging that she has received over what she was wearing in Nigeria, and then what the Nigerian First Lady said. The first part of this, as I explained, arises from trying to get a clarification from the Nigerian First Lady, and that has happened. AFP Fact Check has released an article stating, "The visit of Prince Harry and his wife, this one's wife, to Nigeria in May elicited a flurry of media attention. It also sparked disinformation, when a YouTuber suggested that a video showed Nigeria's First Lady berating the Duchess of Sussex for dressing indecently during her trip to the West African country. But the claim, which made international headlines, is misleading. Tinubu's comments were aimed at young Nigerian women in her televised speech. The First Lady's office told AFP Fact Check she had not criticised this one's wife's dressing. The TV station that filmed the speech, and whose footage was shown in the YouTuber's posts, also denied that Tinubu had reprimanded this one's wife. Well, you've seen the footage, so you can make your own mind up about whether you believe it was a criticism of this one's wife or not. But what is interesting about this is that the First Lady's office and the relevant television channel have both now stated, oh no, this wasn't aimed at this one's wife. No. We weren't criticising her. Why would they do that? Why would they issue this clarification a week or so after the statement was made? The reason being is that they have been approached by this one's wife's representatives to limit the damage and issue a clarification, and then to enable her to go after certain individuals that she identifies as scapegoats. This is done, of course, in order to get that control that's so crucial for her. Thus, utilising her reach, utilising the wealth that she has, she ensures that the appropriate PR team, via AFP Fact Check, receive a clarification from the First Lady's office and the television channel saying, nope, we weren't criticising her. Thus, that satisfies the need for control in relation to that incident, because the supposed source of the criticism has clarified it wasn't a criticism. Thus, this one's wife gains the control. Of course, the problem with it is that many people would look at the footage and say, well, you might say it wasn't aimed at her, but one could interpret it as aimed at her. I still think that you were criticising her, but you've come under pressure and now you're backtracking. That may well be the view of many people, and it remains to be seen in reaction to this suggestion that the information that was put out there was actually disinformation. But for this one's wife, the fact that the office of the Nigerian First Lady confirm it wasn't a criticism of her, and the TV channel confirm also, that will satisfy her subconscious need for control. Now, the other aspect of this is that this information was then disseminated around the world on the basis that it was a criticism. Given that the Nigerian First Lady's office has confirmed, no, it wasn't, someone, therefore, must have twisted her words, this is the paranoia of this one's wife, in order to make it seem as if it was a criticism and then the media have picked up on it. Now, what could this one's wife do? Well, she could contact all of the media and point out, look, she didn't criticise me. You need to issue a correction. Possibly some news outlets might run with that. But the problem is, a retraction, a clarification of such nature, when it's not defamatory, isn't of particular interest to news outlets. Bad news, criticism, scandal, conflict, those are the things that get people's attention, and thus that's what newspapers trade in. Therefore, they're not really going to be interested in reporting the fact that the Nigerian First Lady's office has turned around and stated, actually, I wasn't criticising her. But instead, what will make for a tastier morsel for those news outlets is the suggestion that there are those YouTube haters, yes, those pesky YouTubers, that continue to deal in hate with regard to this one's wife, and thus drum up a story by identifying a scapegoat. Now, plenty of people reported on what the Nigerian First Lady said. Plenty of people reported what she said and interpreted it as a clear criticism of this one's wife. It was plastered all over social media. There were YouTube videos made about it. It has appeared on X. It appeared on Facebook, etc. Yet, through this AFP fact check, one individual has been picked out as being the purveyor of disinformation. The article from AFP continues by explaining, "This one's wife managed to create an international incident. We warned her about the clothes," reads a post shared on X on May 25th, 2024. And it then provides the post from X, which comes from the account of Nancy Sidley Sussex. And it has an attached video which has misleading stamped across it. The AFP fact check announcement states, "The post features a 1-minute 14-second clip of Nigerian First Lady Tinubu speaking at an event. It also contains 2 photos. One shows this one's wife, the Duchess of Sussex, wearing a patterned halter-neck gown. In the other, she is seen in a dress with spaghetti straps, holding Prince Harry's hand as they walk together. The caption includes disparaging hashtags directed at Markle. The hashtags are Scam Jam, Meghan Markle Snap a Pal, Meghan Markle is a grifter, Harry and Meghan are a joke." The post has received nearly 3,000 likes and more than 350 reshares. It was shared by Nancy Sidley Sussex, one half of a US online duo called the Sidley Twins, who run a YouTube channel discussing pop culture and royal gossip. Their feed, which boasts more than 50,000 subscribers, features numerous clips critical of this one's wife. News outlets around the world, including British media, picked up Sidley Sussex's ex-post. UK tabloid The Sun ran a story with the headline, "This one's wife is blasted by Nigeria's First Lady over her nakedness during faux royal visit to the country." Other examples can be found here, and here. The claim surfaced after this one's wife and Prince Harry visited Nigeria in May to promote his Invictus Games. During the trip, this one's wife spoke at an event for women in leadership with Nigerian-born World Trade Organization director Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. The Duchess discussed her Nigerian heritage, referring to the West African country as "my country," and being a role model for women. It then quotes what she said. It then talks about how the Nigerian First Lady held an address celebrating her husband Tinubu's first year in office and discussed the importance of good morals and cultural values. However, the claim that she criticised this one's wife's choice of clothing is misleading. In her speech, seen in the clip shared by Sidley Sussex, Tinubu reprimanded young Nigerian women for dressing indecently, accusing them of mimicking film stars from America who don't know where they came from. She then said that this one's wife had visited Nigeria looking for Africa to understand her identity and where she came from. The First Lady did not comment on the Duchess's attire. Tinubu's office also said her comments had been taken out of context. She meant this one's wife appreciates the people we are, and hence her coming here, the office said in an email to AFP Fact Check. At no point did she say anything about this one's wife's dressing. Arise News, whose clip was used in the misleading post, also rejected the claim. The footage shows Tinubu commenting that this one's wife came looking for her roots, the broadcaster told AFP Fact Check. Thus, this is the AFP fact check that has been issued, which seeks to clarify that there was no criticism of this one's wife in relation to her clothing by Nigeria's First Lady. Again, you can make your own minds up about that. Is it the case that the observations were taken out of context? Or is this simply some backtracking after the event to support this one's wife because pressure has been brought to bear on the Nigerian First Lady? But also, as this is a nullification of the threat to control by gaining that clarification, which very clearly states, no, we weren't criticising this one's wife, it then causes the guns to be trained on the scapegoat, which is Nancy Sidley Sussex. I understand that the Sidley twins have come up on the radar of this one's wife's lieutenant, Meeson Harriman, who issued threats to sue them in relation to an analysis that they had undertaken concerning a photograph, which I think their father, who is an expert photographer, suggested had been manipulated, and that Meghan Harriman threw his rattle out of the pram, targeting that and making various threats of litigation, etc. Naturally, Harriman, as a lieutenant of this one's wife, will have made mention of this incident because it involved a photograph involving this one's wife to this one's wife. And it would appear that the Sidley twins may need to tread somewhat carefully because they are certainly on the radar of this one's wife and in her sights. There's already the contretemps involving Meghan Harriman, and now they are being stated to be to the source of disinformation. This one's wife has painted them black, and therefore has identified that they were the ones that spread this disinformation about the Nigerian First Lady criticising this one's wife, when in actual fact it's been clarified by her office it wasn't a criticism at all. Thus, she has nullified that threat to control and has also taken a shot at the Sidley twins through this AFP fact check by labelling them as purveyors of disinformation and going into detail about how it was them that started this rumour, and this was then picked up by other news sources. Now, there was plenty of people that commented about this and will have done so independently of what the Sidley twins had to state, but nevertheless, they are the ones that have been targeted by this one's wife, which suggests that being painted black by her and being on the radar means that she's looking to pin other things on them as well, and therefore what other content they might produce about her is certainly being observed and scrutinised by her. It, of course, confirms to us that this one's wife does indeed watch what's going on social media and the mainstream news for this to have happened. It also demonstrates that the worldwide criticism of her nakedness and the words of the Nigerian First Lady have suitably caused a problem for her, to the extent that she has then been moved to ensure that a clarification has been issued and an article has appeared condemning the Sidley twins. Now, this AFP fact check doesn't, as of yet, appear to have been picked up by much of the media. It doesn't appear to be doing the rounds yet. It remains to be seen whether it does or whether they're not interested in it. But nevertheless, the fact is, it is an excellent piece of evidence which demonstrates the nature of this one's wife, whereby commentary about her really does get under her skin. She can't stand to be criticised, and rather than just ignore it and get on with life like more evolved narcissists would do, indeed more evolved narcissists wouldn't even be looking in the first place to know that they were being written about in such terms. But because of her being a mid-range narcissist, and the fact that this threatens her sense of control on two fronts, as I mentioned earlier, one, it strikes at the notion that she's not a beautiful fashion icon, and secondly, there's the amplification of that threat to control. She's motivated to do something, and does so by galvanising her team to get this clarification from AFP and to go on the attack by identifying a scapegoat. Very interesting opportunity to see her narcissism in action once again. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.